Well, I want to thank you all for being here today. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. I want to thank everybody who's joined us online as well. And so today we're going to kick off with the first topic of our October theme. Our theme for the month of October is developing a backup plan. This is a very, very important topic. I think this is a topic that many individuals with disabilities and their families, loved ones, and caregivers have a tendency to overlook at times. I think that you probably think to yourself, hey, we'll just get around to that, when that time comes. But the truth of the matter is that in the event that if your primary caregiver is a person with disability, or for the family members and caregivers who are listening, let's say if your loved one's primary caregiver is no longer there, what would you do? Is that something that you've thought about? Is that something that you have discussed with your other family members? It's a very, very important topic. And so, Paul, I want to ask you, have you ever gave thought to that before?
Yes, I did. Actually, a couple months back, we actually went to look at some apartments.
Okay.
And we actually didn't get to go inside of it, but we saw it from the outside.
Okay.
And we kind of got an idea. Well, I kind of got an idea of where I want to end up in the future. So,
okay.
Just taking it one day at a time too. And that's another thing. Don't rush into what you're looking for. Just take your time, and it's gonna come.
So you're in the process of looking to get your own apartment?
My parents has talked about me getting a roommate, and renting to see even if I even like the place. So that's going good so far. All that. So.
Would your renter be part of your caretaker?
No, actually, that would be my roommate. So
the roommate. Would your roommate also be a caretaker?
Well,
possibility, maybe a portion of it.
Possibility, yeah.
Because there would still be some things that you would not be able to do. Okay. So, but before we just dive all the way into our topic today, I want to say this. For those of you who listen online or may listen to this a little later, what I want you to be thinking about is, on October the 31st, we are going to have a live discussion with the family members and the caregivers on October the 31st. And so I want to invite you to attend in person or either online, live, when we go live through Alabama Care, and be a part of that discussion. Because it's a very, very important discussion that you really need to have. And you really need to be prepared for the unexpected, because that's a very real possibility. A very real possibility. And even me, myself, honestly, before we really just sat down and started talking about the different topics that we wanted to look at throughout the year, and we began to talk about this topic, I really never really gave thought to it. I thought, well, I have my mom, I have my wife, I have my brother. I'm thinking about those different things, but what if something happens? It could be something traumatic, or it could just be a life-changing experience that results in them not being able to provide me with the care that I need. What would be my next option? What would be my next option? So those are some things that you really need to think about.
What is your next option?
That's why we're having this discussion today. I am just as much a part of this plan as those who are attending. And so, but our topic today is being prepared for the unexpected. Being prepared for the unexpected. That's our topic today. Okay. So I want to talk about some very important things that I think you need to do to get prepared. All right. So first thing I think you need to do to get prepared is you need to start taking an inventory for right now, this present moment. Who are my caregivers at this present moment? Who are my caregivers at this present moment? Is it parents? Is it siblings? Is it other family members? Or are you having to hire an outside agency to come in to assist you? So who are my caregivers at this present moment? Okay, those are very important. Take an inventory of that. Write that down. Get a list of that. Secondly, what type of care do I need? Is it simple? Is it more involved? Like I'll just say, for me as an example, I need someone to give me a full bath. I need someone to help me with getting dressed and doing my catheterization and getting me inside of my wheelchair. In the event that some type of unexpected accident, bowel or bladder accident happened throughout the day, I need somebody that I could call to assist me in getting cleaned up and getting clean clothes back on. That very rarely happens, but that can happen. At night, I'm going to need someone to help me get back out of my chair and, get my clothes back off, get me into bed. So my situation is pretty involved. It really is. And some others are even more involved. So you may need more or less, but you need to take an inventory of what care that you need. All right. So once you kind of look at those two things, all right, then you want to go back and start having a conversation, with your caregivers. Honestly, for most individuals, their parents are their primary caregiver, right? And once their parents are gone, then what happens? Is your next option another family member? Do you go inside of some type of assisted living facility? A nursing home, God forbid, especially if you are a young person that have all your mental faculty, because that happens, right? It does.
Right.
It does. It does. And so begin to take inventory of those things, all right? So here are a list of things also that you need to start knowing where. I'm going to ask you a question. And for those who are joining me online, I'm going to ask you this question too. If you had to go locate your Social Security card and your birth certificate right now, would you know how to go get that? Be honest. You know where that is?
I mean,
Do you know where it is? You, not your parents. Yes or no?
no.
No. Yeah, I said no. You didn't want to say no to that. I know you did. But the truth of the matter is most people don't. You want to know why? Because most individuals who have a primary caregiver, they're so dependent upon that caregiver to take care of everything. And so it's very important. So one of the conversations that you need to be having with your primary caregiver is mom, dad, or sibling, whoever it is that is providing you with that care. I need for important documents, birth certificate, social security card, ID, insurance card, medical information, bank account information. All of these things, I need to be in a location where I am aware of where it's located.
Also, if they have a will,
You'll
need to know what their will is and where all of their health care proxy.
Get it?
Paul, I'm making a list for you, buddy. We're gonna get you to go.
Preparing a will is very, very important.
Well,
It's
I
very
mean,
important.
but we'll go into that, but like right now, if you, that should be among your important
Yeah,
papers that you
yeah,
locate.
yeah. Most definitely, most definitely. You know, and so those things are important. Knowing what those important documentations are. Okay. Now, it's one thing I want to dive into when it comes to important documentation. I want to dive into the bank account portion of it. Okay. All right. So, majority individuals who are living with disabilities, they're living on some type of fixed income. Some type of fixed income. Either SSI or, you know, SSDI, but some type of fixed income. All right. Now, most individuals who have intellectual challenges, developmental disabilities, whatever, may not have the cognitive ability to know how to manage or, you know, their income. So in the event that the person who is primarily handling their income is no longer there to handle that income, what happens? What happens? Are you even, first of all, just simple, are you even able to go online and put in the username and password to see how much money you got in the bank?
Or
You need to know that.
Or you can actually go to the bank and actually ask them in person of
How is the bank gonna know that you are who you say you are? What are you gonna show them?
your ID and your ID and saying that I need this, I need to withdraw this, or you know, get this amount of money out. Or,
Do you have your own account? Have you done that before? Good. That's awesome. That's a good point.
And so that sounds simple, but it's so major. So because if you don't even know how to access, you know, your own checking account or savings account, then how are you even going to know what it is from a financial standpoint that you have, right? So it's very, very important. So have that conversation. Say to your caregiver, teach me how to access my bank account. Teach me that. And let them know why you need access to that, to learn how to access that. Because I want to be prepared in the event that you're no longer here. You're no longer here. Now, if individuals are fortunate enough to have, I guess, a family that were able to leave them a good amount of money, oftentimes what may happen is that that family may go ahead and set up some type of trust fund or a way that money can be dispersed for the individual's care after they're no longer there, and maybe just really leave it in the hands of another family member or maybe some kind of firm or whatever to handle that, but never really discuss that with the family member that needs that care. But they need to know, they need to be involved in every aspect of what it takes for them to continue to live a productive life. Because right now, I know an individual right now who dad passed and left them a fairly decent amount of money. And this individual has a mental illness. Now he can sit down and talk to you just like we talking right now, you know, but he does not have the ability to really even put clean clothes on, to pay his own bills, to do anything. So he trusted in a local law firm to disperse his money to him on a monthly basis. Here about 5 years ago, you know what this law firm said to him after nearly 20 years of dispersing his money?
What?
The money is gone. And this individual right now is sleeping in the park on a bench.
Mm-hmm.
And he's mentally ill. Mentally ill, sleeping in a park on a bench.
Mm-hmm.
And has no idea what his next move is going to be. For nearly 20, 25 years of his life, he's been living off of a fund that his father set up for him.
Mm-hmm.
And was being dispersed through a firm. And now the firm has says that the money is gone. Nobody.
What's wrong with that picture?
A lot. Tell me what you think is wrong with that picture.
Well, first of all, if he's not capable to understand cost of living and what his living expenses are, that trust officer should have appointed a power of attorney or somebody that would have taken care of him.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, all of this would have stopped.
Mm-hmm.
But why the law firm didn't do that, what's your opinion on that?
Honestly, the first thing I think to myself is that they're not being honest.
Correct.
And then also, even if they were being honest, why would you let a mentally ill man, get put out, sleeping in a park if he was under your care?
And the condition that he's in.
Exactly.
Because nobody's afraid of him, but he's not approachable on many days because he's mentally ill and because he is so unkempt. Mm-hmm. He's filthy, and that puts people off.
Mm-hmm. Now his dad did the right thing. His dad, earned a fairly decent amount of money, mm-hmm. properly set it up so that he can be cared for, but now what happens to this man? And I see this man and there are so many ways that, I want to help, and I do whatever I can. I take his clothes home and wash them at my house, or when, we cook dinner, I make an extra plate and take it to him and different things like that. But there are other things that I would like to do, to be honest with you, that he just won't permit you to do. Like help him get in a care facility that he can be cared for and different things like that. And honestly, with me not having, I guess I would say, power of attorney to make decisions, I can't force him to do anything. But there is nobody that is caring for this man. And he needs care. He needs care. So, go ahead.
Well, there is like Miss Jackie said, you can also take him to a shelter.
He doesn't want to go to a
He
shelter.
won't go. We brought the shelter to him.
Mm-hmm. But I guess the point that I'm making is that
that's a good point.
That the backup plan, there needs to be more of a backup plan. Like, I think what Dad probably failed to do was he set the financial part of it correctly, mm-hmm. but he didn't take the next step, to have that additional family member or some other source there in the event that this money runs out. Mm-hmm. How would he be cared for?
And did the law firm give him a check every month under the assumption that he knew how to spend the money and what would happen to it? And did the money disappear? Did someone take it from him?
That's a good point too. Because a whole lot of people out here is getting fraud.
It's so true.
And
so true.
And stuff like that. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. So have those financial account conversations. Mm-hmm. You need to know, what is our financial situation. The event that you're no longer here, what do I do? How much money do we have, or do I have? How am I going to live? All of those things you need to know. Because honestly, to be honest with you, you know, even though the fact that, you know, he may not, the guy we was talking about, may not have the cognitive ability to spend money or anything like that, but I still think he should know, you know, where his money is and how much is there.
If
That conversation need to be had with
absolutely,
him.
but I also believe that if it had happened back then, before he progressively seemed to have deteriorated, whether it's because he can't get medication anymore or whatever, if he were told that this is the way it had to be and was told by a family member, the father, had the father been able to have the opportunity to get direction, I think he would have followed through with it. You know, because he's so methodical on everything he does otherwise, that I think if he were told, you know, this is what you have to do, you will carry this on you, and this is the way it's going to be. But also, I think the other problem, of course, may be the attorneys. The attorneys took over the trust, and maybe it should have been a different firm that actually did this for people with disabilities or who are mentally not competent. And I would believe that there is such a practice, which is something that you could research.
So another conversation that is very important to have. Like I said, those of you who are joining us online, thank you so much. But send in your questions as well and your comments. We really appreciate it. Okay, so our next conversation you should have. Okay, if you're no longer here, we're talking about your primary caregiver. This is a question you want to ask. Who's going to provide me with my care? Am I going to be able to stay home, or am I going to have to go to some type of facility? All right. So, because is there just an assumption that, hey, if mom and dad is no longer here, that my brother or my sister is going to care for me, I'm going to move in with them? Is that just an assumption? Or my aunt or uncle? You know, is that just assumed? Because that may not be the case, okay?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Because they have a lot of stuff on their plate too, and you have to take into account of that also too.
So true. You have to have that conversation, has to be had. And it has to be a family conversation, okay, where everybody sits down and say, okay, in the event that, you know, I'm no longer here, what do we do with Lorenzo? Is Lorenzo going to stay at your house? Is he going to continue to stay in his house and someone going to come over, you know, to make sure he's cared for so that he can continue to have a quality of life? Or just be honest, are you not going to be able to care for Lorenzo? So are we going to have to, you know, make plans for Lorenzo to go to some type of facility, some type of institution, so he can be cared for? All of those conversations need to be had.
Do you have an answer to that question?
I do not. That's why I'm feeling through these things. So everything that we're talking about, I'm working through it too, because I honestly never really gave thought to that. You know, I mean, I have, you know, and honestly, you know, a lot of people don't really, you know my story, but, you know, before getting married, you know, I personally, you know, when I first got hurt, you know, my family wasn't able to give me the care that I needed. So, I mean, I was 17 years old at the time, you know, and never really thought to myself, okay, I'm 17 years old and I'm going to, you know, get shot and become paralyzed. But when I got shot and became paralyzed and my family couldn't care for me, guess what ended up happening to me? I had to go to a nursing home when I was 18 years old. At 18 years old, I had to go to a nursing home because my family couldn't care for me, right? Okay. So that was a real thing for me back then. But honestly, you know, now that, you know, my mom is a part of my care and my wife is a part of my care, you know, and they provide me with such good care, I honestly, you know, never really thought about, you know, what if they are not there? what would be my next option? How could I continue to have the same quality of life that I have now? Because my care, my day-to-day care, with me being a quadriplegic, paralyzed from my chest down to my feet, is so involved. You understand what I'm saying? And so it ain't gonna be just like come in, you know, and let me be sit in a chair and have a conversation with you, be a sitter or something. It's gonna be really involved, type care, And so, and even my wife has said to me sometimes, "Man, you so independent. Sometimes I forget you need help the way that you do." And a lot of people would forget that, But truth of the matter, so I'm developing a backup plan. I really am, because I want to continue to have a quality of life, right? Mm-hmm. And then that, honestly, I would sit down with my 25-year-old daughter and say, baby, it may be a possibility that you may be a part of my backup plan. You understand what I'm saying? But I need to have that conversation with her, though.
That's only fair.
You understand? Yes. Not just her, not just me assuming that, okay, hey, I got a 25-year-old daughter, so I know she's going to care for dad or whatever, Or even my sons, when they get older, they're 9 now, but in, 9 more years, they'll be 18, they'll be men, So I can't just assume that their whole life is going to get off track just so they can come and care for me, Because, you would assume that as a parent, right? Hey, your kid's going to care for you, whatever, but just, can't assume that. You really can't.
No, and even if you don't have a disability.
So true.
You don't assume that.
Mm-hmm.
One other interesting thing is that most people who are a little older, who have animals, always have a backup plan for their animals. They leave them in their wills. They let the person know who's going to take care of them if something happens to them. Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't you have a backup plan? I mean, I didn't go out and get my dog not thinking about who would take her if something went wrong, and I know exactly who's going to take her. And we agreed on that. So if you can do it for your animals, I mean, do it for your children, and especially those who are disabled.
That's true. Laurel George, thank you so much for submitting your comment online. She was talking about passwords, what we just kind of mentioned. Access wills, directives, rental and mortgage agreements, understanding all that. I guess we never really talked about that either. Rental and mortgage agreements. If you're are you buying a home, you're renting a home, what's the agreement on that? So that's very important too. Yep. And so she went on and she also said, always plan for the day when you and no one around you can speak for you. And she asked the question, what happens next? So that's very, very, very good. Thank you so much, Laura, for that. And so, it's a very, very important topic. So have that conversation. So I guess my backup plan, I can go have about 5 more kids. And what do you think about that?
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't think my kids are going to take care of me.
Oh, Lord. I could do that, right, Paul?
Oh, man. You can.
But it's a serious topic, because I'm going to tell you something. When I was in a nursing home at 18 years old, I stayed in a nursing home for over 2 years. It was not ideal for somebody in my in my situation in life. I mean, mentally, I was there. I could make decisions just like everybody else, but physically, I just couldn't get myself out of a bed, and I couldn't physically care for myself. So I had to be in a facility where I could get 24 hours care. But can I tell you that a nursing home was not the right place to be? It just wasn't. And honestly, to be honest with you, there are not many options.
Right.
If there's another option altogether, for younger individuals who need, real involved care, if their family can't care for them, really not many options.
Well, if there were, we would have found one by now for a friend of ours.
Yeah, it's
We
true.
can't.
It's true. It's hard. It's tough. It really is.
30 years old and in a nursing home.
And it's you know, it's originally designed for older individuals who have lost, you know, their mental ability, their cognitive ability. It's really designed for those type individuals. And so and then also most of those individuals, you know, even though they've lost their cognitive ability to function, they still can kind of physically, you know, do some things as well, you know. And so, but I want to go, Laura she mentioned something. Let me go back and read her comment one more time, because she said something that was really, really great. Also, we got somebody, I don't know if I can pronounce your name right, but I know you call a wheelchair cricket. And he's actually joining us from India, online from India, joining the class today. So thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate you being online. But I want to go back to Laura's question. She said, always plan for the day when you and no one around you can speak for you. So that kind of, honestly, I never really, I guess I should have thought about this, but what if the individual that is in need of care was born with a disability where they was unable to speak or mentally function, but yet the family has always provided that individual with the care to stay home?
Well, that's when we go back to the other backup plan that we worked on last month with the emergency preparedness.
Okay.
And that individual needs to have their paperwork on them 24/7. And
Well, I'm talking about even beyond that. I'm talking about, let's say if, for example, if you were my mom, I was your child, and I was born with a severe disability where I couldn't make any decisions for myself, couldn't speak, mentally incapable of making any decisions. You've been my caregiver all along, but now you're getting older and you really can't care for me anymore, or you pass away. So
I would have prepared for that.
Yes,
Because I would have, just like I said, gone through and I would have had a will, I would have had a trust, I would have spoken to all the doctors. I would have had everything put in a packet, and it would have been in your backpack. And you would have always had it, and I would always keep it updated along with all your emergency contacts and stuff.
So very important. I never really.
And it's not that hard to do.
It's not. The thing is that it's because it's such a simple thing. Like most people, individuals are, we procrastinate, and so we'll say, we'll get to that when time comes. But honestly, when a tragic situation happens, it's too late.
But the other thing, the reason you don't do it is because you don't want to hear your kids say, I don't want to talk about you not being here. Well, okay, you don't want to talk about me not being here, but the fact is, if I live, I will die. So now that we've got that laid out, let's discuss what will happen. And let's don't be sad about it. Let's just be realistic.
Yeah, let's talk about
Get the elephant out of the room.
Let's talk about the reality of this situation, because
Very good, Paul.
Because even if you we were not designed to live alone, and we were not designed to live forever, because
Oh, I was, though. I'm going to live forever.
but I know one place where we're going to live. That's in heaven, though. But you know, we can't, you know, get so caught up in earth. That's why in the Bible it says, do not store all your treasures in earth, store all them in heaven, because God already has a place prepared for us and Jesus. So we need not to worry about worry about that situation.
So have you spoken with your parents about what happens if something happens?
Yeah, we talked about that, and you know,
Is that why you started on this apartment? Cool.
And they said, Paul, we gotta look for your voice because, they might want to go, like, live in some other state. Okay, and then I need to have that enough cognitiveness to say, okay, what do I need to do now since they're gonna live like in the other state? So this is just an example. Am I gonna get everything I need to take care of that, or yeah, and it's kind of like what Mr. Lorenzo said. So yeah.
Good.
So let's go back to that conversation about the family member that may have been, born in a situation where they cannot go to the caregiver and say, tell me what's the plan. Tell me how can I access my accounts, or tell me where the important documentation is. So it's very important that those primary caregivers of that individual is proactive about setting up the next step, the next plan for that person in the event that they're not there. And let's just say, because tragedies, they do happen. They happen, I mean, I woke up one morning a healthy 17-year-old, and before the next day came, I was paralyzed from my chest down to my feet. I didn't wake up thinking that's going to happen, today. And so, so you have to prepare, in the event that some type of tragic situation happens. God forbid that it does. But in the event that it does, you want to make sure that that loved one is, is cared for. So the conversation needs to be had with other family members, with caregivers, how it's going to happen, how this person going to be cared for. All that conversation needs to be had, and it needs to be had sooner the better, and those who are going to be involved in that transition plan, needs to know what all the important documents are. I don't know if there is some type of money involved or whatever, then if there's some type of fund that is set up, then the other family member needs to know how to access that fund, so I guess somebody trustworthy. So all of those things are very, very important, very, very important.
And if you can't get your family to sit around that table for that discussion, and you're able to understand that you want that discussion, I would suggest that you've got your church to go to and or your doctor, and you say, look, I really want to know this information. My parents or my caregiver are having a hard time discussing it because they don't want to think about it. Can you help me? And at that point, if you give your minister and or doctor permission to disclose, then maybe they can help you approach your caregiver or family.
Or if not your real parents, your godparents. Because even though your godparents, even though they're not your real mom and dad, they at least know enough about you. They've been around you long enough to know certain things about you, so just have that discussion with them.
They're your godparents because they would take over if something happened to your parents.
They
right?
supposed to.
Yeah.
But
How's that working out?
Well, truly though, I think especially younger people, They kind of get excited. Oh, I'm going to be the godparent. But do you really know what that means?
Right.
Especially if you're the godparent to a child that has a disability. So they need to be part of the conversation too.
Absolutely. Good
Because
suggestion, Paul.
yeah, most definitely. Most definitely.
Yeah,
And because I'm supposed to be the godfather of some young man, but I didn't want to say.
who he
I
is.
do. I didn't want to say his name. Okay, but anyway, I guess when I was asked, I didn't know if I was really giving thought to what would all be involved in that.
You thought it was just spiritual.
No, I knew that they was asking me to be the godfather beyond the spiritual standpoint, but I guess, I kind of said yes because the person was my best friend. And I think you kind of think, as a best friend, that's what you're supposed to do, but really not giving thought to what the responsibilities of all that would be, in the event that they're no longer there.
True. Yep.
Yeah. And so, it'll be good for me to go have that conversation with them right now, about that.
Did you answer the question from the gentleman?
I did answer the question. So those are really, really good. Okay, so in the event, another conversation I think is very important, okay? So we always want to try and work on keeping, the individual in a home setting, if possible, because that's going to be the healthiest, situation for the individual. That's probably what's going to bring the individual the most joy, and give them, the most productive and better quality of life. But let's just say that there are no options that will result in the individual staying home. You need to have that real tough conversation about the possibility of some type of facility, some type of institution. So it would be very smart to begin looking into local facilities that, in the event that this is the last result, but in the event that it has to happen and you have to go into a facility, which facility would you want to go into? Start looking at those facilities, those local facilities, and go and visit. Really, go visit them and and see what type of quality care they're providing, and how are they keeping the facility up? How are they caring for the people in there? Maybe even sitting down with the administrators of the facility and and learning how your care is going to be paid for if you have to come in there and looking them up and seeing what type of ratings that these facilities have and different things like that, because it's a real possibility. And as much as I hate to say, it could be a possibility for me,
They won't
but
keep you.
why they want?
You won't put up with it after what you know.
But it's true.
But
It's
you
so true.
also know there are very few, but there are a few places that do take people with disabilities, but there is a tremendous waiting list. So if and when you all sit down to discuss this, get yourself on a waiting list, because those waiting lists can go for years.
So you saying get on the waiting list even if you're not sure you're going to come in there?
No, like if it's part of your plan and you check out the waiting list and the waiting list is 3 years, 4 years down the road, and you're suspecting that your caretaker is ill, it's time, you know, you should have done this before, but you do need to get yourself on a list and on a waiting list. And it's tough.
I know an individual who became paralyzed, and his mother and father, you know, became his primary caregiver, and he was really blessed to have a mom and father that wanted to care for him and keep him home. And he was paralyzed from his chest down to his feet. And but now his parents are in their, you know, late 70s, and they can't lift him like they used to, and they can't turn him and stuff like they used to. And you know, he didn't want to go to a facility or institution, which I definitely understand why, but there was no other family members who could come over and relieve, you know, these older parents, you know. And as much as they loved him, you know, they tried to keep him home, but it kind of resulted in him being bedbound and developing all kind of bed sores and different things like that because they couldn't get him out of bed anymore, you know. And so, but had somebody, you know, been a little bit more proactive, and honestly, to be honest with you, I really say that he should have been proactive because he was mentally capable of making those decisions, but pride wouldn't let him leave home, even though staying home was going to be a worse situation than going to a facility.
Wow, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
See, sometimes we got to do stuff that we don't want to do, even though we know it's the right thing to do. Like, a lot of stuff isn't right, but some stuff isn't right. So, a lot of people still got to learn that. And
does it bother you to think about living by yourself?
Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, because one thing about me is, and y'all know this about me, at least if I don't succeed at first, you know I'm gonna keep on trying.
True.
But yeah.
So have you tried? So, are you expecting to move out of the house? Move out of your house sometime soon?
Yeah, sometime soon, you know. So
it's a big step, but you can do it, man. I remember when I was 21 years old, when the idea of me moving into my apartment came up. And I was scared out of my mind. You know, I was thinking like, I mean, I'm paralyzed from my chest down to my feet. I'm going to do this, you know. And then even, you know, with the fact that, you know, my brother was living with me and helping me, it was still, you know, it was a scary process, you know. And I mean, that was over 22 years ago now. You know, I look back now and I think about, you know, that it worked out, you know, it really did. But the initial steps of it was really fearful. It was very, very fearful for me. And I guess that's with everything that you do, you know. I remember when they asked me if I wanted to learn how to drive. And I can't drive, you know. And I really thought I could not drive. And then I ended up seeing a friend of mine. He had invited us to a birthday party he was giving his wife. And we were sitting at a stoplight, and I saw him turn right in front of us in his van that he was driving. And my eyes was like, that's it. And in that moment, I thought to myself, okay, if he can do it, then I can do it. And that's when I kind of got the courage to take the step of trying to learn how, you know, to drive. So.
And that's where friends come in, I think.
Yeah.
Because we all need friends to say, hey, you can do this. Someone other than your parents.
You know, Paul, I'm glad you brought it up because I never really thought about that. I guess we've been kind of sitting around and we've been talking about like family and caregivers, being involved in the discussion, but friends who really, really care for you and love you and have your best interest in mind, will more than likely probably want to step up and be a part of that plan too.
Yeah.
If you involve them
Oh,
in the
absolutely.
conversation,
Yes.
you involve them in the conversation.
Because not only do your parents know them, they know you well enough. They've been around you long enough to know some stuff about it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
What about using if your mind is just spinning right now because we've thrown all these things out and it's the first time you've really heard the discussion? What if you would go to an agency like ADRS and ask them if they have a packet or they have something that can help you get your thoughts together? Is that possible?
Well, actually, I was going to announce this towards the end, but we're going to have a guest speaker here next week, Ms. Tammy Moore, the executive director of Full Life Ahead Foundation, and she has a package. She has a package.
Awesome.
She has a thing they call Life Course, and she's going to be teaching this to us coming up next week. So we're going to be very excited to have her here
Don't
teaching
miss
us
it
that.
next week. It's
So
your
yeah,
opportunity.
yeah. So that's going to be a very important topic. But as we get ready to kind of bring our session to a close, I wanted to really begin to get everybody wheels turning and really get the light bulb turned on in your head about this topic, because it's real, it's reality. And actually the actions and steps that you begin taking now could be kind of, a life or death type, decisions and steps. It could be the reason why you continue to live and have a quality of life, or the reason why you don't or will not have a quality of life, moving forward. So let the light bulb come on, begin to do some of these things that we talked about today. And as I said, next week we're gonna have Ms. Tammy Moore here for Full Life Ahead Foundation. She's gonna talk to us about the life course that they have. So please make plans to be a part of this next week. And I want to thank Alabama Care for taking us live today. Alexander Bym. I also want to thank all of those who joined us live online and watching as well. I really appreciate it. And so we will see you next week. Thank you for being us. Thank you for joining us.